checking things out, scouting around, as he is expecting drops from DeLoAdEr, and that is very smart. Nort obviously studying, well, maybe just used to Terran play in general, but I think he has studied the playstyle of DeLoAdEr and probably seen him in a few other games and some other clan matches and stuff like that, and he is well aware. And look at this, DeLoAdEr's medevac is going to fly right over this pylon, and there you go. He is now well aware of this, and he's going to be able to bring his stalkers in time, and blink is research, so he will be able to blink after this. Oh, but will he make it over? He's making it into the main before he can do anything, but Nort should have no problem warping in some units back here as he has pylon power. He needs to do it now before they start dropping. Oh, he needs to... No! Nort, you need to warp in some units. What are you doing, Nort? Oh, too late. Now the units are on the ground. He will still be able to warp in units, and he has blinked up with some of these stalkers to be able to... Oh, no, maybe these units were warped back here, and I just wasn't paying attention. But, I mean, as a Protoss player, you want to warp the units in. If you warp your units in ahead of time, wait till the medevacs come right over the land, and then blink right under them and snipe them out before they can even drop any units. Would have been my preferred thing to do. But, of course, Nort is definitely a pro-level player. As I mean, I'll check his stats later on, but seeing how he's playing against DeLoAdEr, I'm definitely expecting him to be in Grandmaster or at least High Masters League. So, I mean, I guess he knows the game better than I do, so I have to trust his judgment. Maybe he was a little sloppy there, or maybe it was completely on purpose, allowing DeLoAdEr to fully commit with those Marines, take a few hit on the probes just to guarantee that he was going to be able to kill that drop. As it is true, if you push a drop away as a Protoss and you're unable to kill it, that drop will just keep poking in where it can and keep coming back and keep harassing you and keep your army at home. But if you do allow it to come in and land and fully commit and then get around it before it can pull out, then you can guarantee that you will kill it, and you will basically give yourself probably about a minute or so before the Terran player will be able to get another drop to your base. Unless, of course, they have an army like this. So, but of course, they don't want to commit too much of their army. They want to keep this kind of Marine Marauder ball. And here we are with the MMM ball. Actually, this is really beautiful. So, how many medevacs do we have here? We're looking at 7, I believe. No, 8 medevacs, which is absolutely beautiful. More Marines and Marauders coming down. And as this game progresses, we look at the Army tab again. I mean, still, we have Nort is a little bit ahead. But I think just the composition of DeLoAdEr, these Marines Marauders with Stim and 2-1 upgrades. Let's look real quick at Nort's. He only has 1-1-0 upgrades. So I think the upper hand is definitely going to be for DeLoAdEr in this fight, even though he's a little bit behind in the army, unless we can see Nort throw down. So he doesn't have charge, so he's going to have to throw down some perfect force fields. And seeing as he only has only 2 Guardian shields, he's either going to have to do some insane blink micro when he faces it. But look at this army kind of splitting, getting ready for the big fight. He's going to try to get that concave, which he needs to do, and he's going to be poking at this. He wants to only show a little bit of his army to Nort, but Nort kind of knows what's going on. I think he saw this, and he can definitely see this with this pylon here. And so now these few troops are going to be able to come in here and clean up this nexus, which is going to force Nort to push down, and using those Guardian shields very nicely to push down the damage. And man, those Marauders, I mean those Zealots coming in and just tearing up those Marauders. And look at this surprise blow from Nort, able to clean this army up beautifully. I definitely shouldn't have pulled Nort. And look at this 2-2 just finishing as the end of the fight goes on. So obviously Nort was waiting for those 2-2 upgrades, but realizing that he could not risk losing this nexus, and he had to push in. And so maybe he lost more of his army than I was expecting. But I was expecting DeLoAdEr's army to do a lot better against Nort than that, especially with the 2-1 upgrades versus the 1-0-1 upgrades. And now we're looking at 2-0-2 upgrades with still only 2-2 now for our Terran player. So about equal-ish upgrades. You know, obviously he doesn't have the 2 on the shields, but he does have the 2 on the armor as well, which is quite nice. And those Stalkers, they get that extra armor, which is very nice. Armor units are very good for that, although not so good against the Marauders, who get the bonus damage versus armored, of course. And now a little game of cat and mouse, as both these armies are now equaling size again. Both players playing extremely well. Definitely a very tense game. Could go both ways. DeLoAdEr higher in supply count, but the army for Nort is just a lot stronger. So, and that's probably in the SCV count. Let's check the units tab real quick. Yeah, so there's 75 SCVs out for for DeLoAdEr. And of course DeLoAdEr has those supply-heavy Marauders as well. So meanwhile we see DeLoAdEr is, no, not DeLoAdEr, I think he was destroying rocks or something, but no, that's the sound of a Zealot attacking this command center. But that's going to allow Nort to know that there is an expansion going down, and so he is going to know that there's only 1, 2, 3 places on the map that DeLoAdEr can really go with that expansion, and so he'll be able to keep an eye on those. Meanwhile we see DeLoAdEr's force coming out. Looks like Nort just kind of sacrificing these troops. And is that slow been researched? You know, the slow has not been researched. Man, so many players, we see it time and time again on the pro scene, that slow. That slow is so cheap, guys. Just get the slow. Please get the slow. You'll be able to see when that blink happens, three of those stalkers would have been slowed, and DeLoAdEr would have been easily been able to pick them off. He needs to remember to research that, and maybe now he's noticing. No, he's not. I guess he just doesn't care. He doesn't want to spend the 50-50 on that slow. It is, I mean, unless they've changed it. I don't think they have. No, it is still 50. Still 50. It takes a minute to research. There's no point in not getting it once you're done researching everything else at that tech lab for only 50-50. And the number of units that you're able to kill when an army retreats from you is just enormous. So, I mean, over the course of the game, I think that slow from the Marauders well pays for itself, especially when you have this many Marauders in your army. But honestly, I think it was just a forgetfulness coming from Nort. Meanwhile, Nort is losing his expansions. Man, I just don't think that there's anything left that he can do. He's pulling his troops back to kind of deal with this. But this Colossus better watch itself before it loses its life. Another expansion going down for Nort. Nort loses this is basically going to be GG for Nort at this point. I really don't think there's anything Nort can do to come back. He has the Colossus, but that is not going to be enough. That solo Colossus is going to go down. A second Colossus coming out, and we already see one player deciding to leave the game. Obviously, I think disgusted with the play there and just decided it's already over. And there is the GG from Nort, as there was nothing left that he could do. And I mean, if Nort was able to hold out just a little bit longer and get those Colossus out, then I think he would have been okay if he could get to 2, 3, 4 Colossus. But of course, DeLoAdEr pushing at just the right time, knowing his timings, knowing what he needed to do, pushing in at the right moment when the Protoss army was out of place and able to clean up 2 expansions. And I mean, basically, once those 2 expansions were down, it was over. We did see that the Psystorm was finished for Nort as well, and Nort basically just a little bit too late getting that AoE damage on the table with the Colossus and the Psystorms. But well played by both players again, and now that I'm completely out of breath after casting 3 games back to back, I am going to be signing off, and I'll try to get you some more games over the course of the next week, as many as I possibly can, and I'll be loading these as soon as I possibly can to YouTube. So enjoy your week, guys.